everyone, welcome to the 8th episode of the Rogue Deck Chronicles. My name is Dean, I am one of your hosts, and across from the table from me is John.
Hey everybody, welcome back.
So we've had a very interesting week, personally, with the two of us. Let's just say home ownership for me has been a fun trip the last week or so. I've had a lot of things going on, and I'm kind of glad I'm not going to any regionals soon. My wallet would say no. But other than
Yeah.
that, I'm doing well. I've been paying attention to the Pokemon scene. How are you doing, John?
I've not had as crazy of a weekend as you, but work life has been interesting to say the least. We're still dealing with some of that stuff from the cybersecurity fallout a few weeks ago. So
Yeah. Well, I know we've been hanging out a lot. We've been watching the Olympics because we're
yes,
both really into it. I haven't done a lot of watching. I'll watch a little bit in the morning, and I'll go over to your house and we'll do some binging and just being able to talk with you on that. So
yeah,
another outside of Pokemon hobby that we've been doing. But we're not here to talk about the Olympics or all the pressures of owning a house. We're here to talk about rogue decks in the Pokemon trading card game.
yep.
So on today's episode, we're gonna talk about how Shrouded Fables, how that impacted the meta and everything going along with that. Because Worlds is literally next week.
By the time our next episode airs after this one, people will be standing in line
To check in.
to check in for Worlds.
Yeah.
So,
So if you need something to listen to in those long lines,
right?
pay attention to the next week's episode. You can listen to us and hear us talk about Worlds as you're about to get your badge. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a new Pokemon TV show that's come out on the internet. Our thoughts about it and what we disliked about it. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, we'll talk about this week's Rogue Deck of the Week.
Yep, and I think it kind of fits perfectly with the theme for Worlds
Yeah, it does
this year.
actually. I wasn't even thinking about that, but
So
yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, 5 days ago, Shrouded Fables was released into the Pokemon
yes, it
world.
was, and I know you and I are very happy with this mini set.
Oh yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Dean and I love playing poison decks, just because they tend to be those rogue decks. They tend to be those things that most people aren't thinking about in the main meta.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely liking some of the cooking that we're doing over here.
Yeah, not
More
gonna.
info to come
Yeah.
because we don't want to give away too much before our next challenge.
Yeah, it's been fun seeing all the new cards and the interactions, and honestly seeing all the decks on ladder. It's been a really fun couple days playing online and seeing how the meta has changed. It's changed up, not a lot, but it has changed with people cooking and preparing for the tournament next week. We just wanted to just talk about that, see what decks have caught your eye, any prominent changes in other decks. What are you seeing, John, with all this?
So I mean, obviously, trying to figure out new decks for our stuff. I was playing on the ladder and I wasn't paying attention to the ladder when it reset and didn't like grind a little bit to make sure I didn't fall too far down. And I am back in Great Ball League, so trying to work my way back up.
Welcome to the club. I don't play online a lot, so my account is very low.
But the way that I've been seeing things is I thought the Dust Noir Zard deck was going to have a lot. I thought I was going to hit that a lot more, and I haven't. I've hit a few,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe some of the Zard decks that I hit, they didn't get to set up quick enough for get the Dust Noir out to be able to activate it. But pretty much every single Zard that I've hit with the different decks that I've been playing, whether that be Lugia, our Rogue Deck of the Week, or some of the other decks we've been cooking with, it's either been a very close match or I've won.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very few Zard that have actually been able to get the win on me, which is interesting because I thought, based off of results from Japan, I thought that it would be a lot bigger of a meta share that was successful. And maybe it's just because I'm lower down on the leagues, so I'm not playing people that are used to sequencing, have those skill sets. That may be it, but I'm not seeing as big of a Dusk Noir cry out that we thought we were going to see. What about you?
Yeah, only played a few games since the set has released online. But yeah, I haven't seen a lot of the Dusknoir line. I went against one last night. Um, it was close, but they did get me with the Charizard Dusknoir. I just wasn't able to set up. It was with one of the decks that we're cooking, and I think it's just too easy to play around. Um, with the basic only having 60 HP, it can get knocked out before they can do their thing. And I know a lot of it with the Charizard line specifically. Yeah, they don't care if he gets knocked out because it helps them attack. But the point is to get the damage out. So if you're getting it in the basic level, they still have to. They're only still hitting for like 210, 240 at that point. And a lot of these big basic Pokemon, that's still not enough early game, and you can just get
Yeah.
you're too far behind even at that point. I did go against the Lost Box variant with the Dusknoir. I won against one, lost against the other. But same concept. If they can't get set up or you take out their things before they're ready, it's a pretty easy win. So I can kind of see that dying down a little bit, but I also want to say it's partly because the rise in Regidrago. A lot of people are playing it, a lot of top players are playing it a lot. If if you watch that Japanese invitational that like Tord and Fabian were a part of on that stream, I think it was like last week or 2 weeks ago.
It was not this past weekend, it was the weekend before.
A lot of those top Japanese players were playing Drago.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are seeing that, adding the techs like the Haxorus, the Kieran, and the Iron Leaves, and it's just too much. They can you can hit Iron Leaves turn one if you have your Teal Mass in play. The Haxorus is there for the Lugia matchup, or really any matchup with special energy. It's so much of a powerhouse, and that deck has a good matchup with Charizard. So I think that's balancing out at least the Charizard matchup.
Right.
Um, but then you still have Gardevoir. A lot of players are still playing it. It doesn't change that much with Shrouded Fables. But to
No.
be honest, does it have to?
Right.
I think the only addition is Fezandipiti, maybe.
Which does help them. It does help with that draw. I mean, yes, you are refinement, but part of the issue that Guardy players have is they don't want to evolve their Curlias too early because then you lose that draw power. Well, now with
Yeah.
Fezandipiti, you get 3 cards instead of 2, and you're not having to discard something.
And you're expecting to get knocked out every turn anyway.
Right.
So it's an automatic draw.
Right. So that does help them a little bit. I mean, I think with the way things have been going, I'm gonna bring back one of our rogue decks for this weekend, just for fun. Just because with the amount of Regidrago that we saw at the last cup, I think that it'll be fun to play, but I'm still worried about Raging Bolt, and I don't know how to work around that. That's always going to be my worst matchup, that and Dragapult, so I got to see how that's going to go. But
the problem is, I would expect to see a decent amount of Dragapult, especially with or specifically with the Regidrago, because they do play the Dragapult.
Right.
So even though it's pinging me damage, that 60 does add up.
Hey all you rogues out there. We just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to our sponsor, For Honor and Glory. They are a great support to us and have all the things you need related to Pokemon, Magic, D&D, Warhammer, and more. You can go on over to forhonorandglory.com and use discount code ROGUE24 That's forhonorandglory.com and discount code ROGUE24 for 10% off your entire online order. All right, let's get back to talking about those sneaky decks.
Right, but the other thing that I can do is I can put Cornerstone and just leave Cornerstones there, and then it's just a who's gonna draw out first.
That's true. I forgot about that. So,
because they can Noivern me, and then I'll just go, okay, no damage. I can't attack. Pass. See who draws out first.
Yeah.
I mean, in a cup, you don't really necessarily want to tie, but more ties may actually help me out there.
We'll see, yeah. So yeah, I'm not expecting to see a lot of Raging Bolt per se. That deck has gone down a little bit. It's still a great deck. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't blame you if you chose to play that deck in a tournament. It's just right now, if you look at the top tournaments, if you hear the top players, that's not really in the conversation.
Right.
It's the other decks. One deck we haven't talked about is Lugia. That's making a resurgence.
Yeah, especially, I think it's going away from the build that we talked about last week. I think it's going back to that Minccino because Zard is making a little bit of a comeback. People are talking about using the one prizer, and the problem is if with Lugia, because I was debating playing it this week. The problem with it is that we have no way to one-shot a Zard. And then your Lugia sitting in the active, and you're like, okay, what do I do? Now, you can with the Weird Ear, but it takes a lot of energy.
And then your Weird Ear is most likely going to get knocked out.
Oh, 100%.
It's not that.
It's 220.
Bulky. Yeah.
It's 220.
I can hit that easily.
Yeah. So, there's things that you gotta think about there, but yeah, I mean, I think next weekend's gonna be definitely an interesting thing. I think we're gonna see this weekend because we have the Cup at Coliseum. I think we're gonna see a lot of people testing, like doing last minute testing for Worlds.
At least as close as they can get.
I think we're either gonna see that or we're gonna see a drop off for people to go play test as it's the last weekend, and they'd rather play test that than show up at the Cup.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see who we get there, because there's going to be some decks like Guardy, like Lugia, that aren't going to change that much, whereas Charizard, Regidrago, those will change a little bit. So
Lost Box, yeah.
Lost Box. So it'll be interesting to see.
One deck I've actually been hearing a lot about that I think a lot of people are not considering is that Quad Thorns. Iron Thorns EX. That looks fun.
Yeah, so my issue with quad decks is I have the worst luck with mulligans. I mulliganed 4 times in one game with Raging Bolt. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. So my fear is I'm going to walk in with Quad Thorns and going to be like, yes, I'm gonna play this, and then I'm just gonna mulligan 80 million times, and then it's not gonna be fun to play.
Yeah.
So, however, I did watch Andrew Mahone's video on the Quad Thorns deck, and it does look kind of fun. I've already got some Iron Thorns. I may build it just for fun to see.
It's the Gardevoir matchup that kills it. It can't be Gardevoir.
No, it really can't.
It's really hard.
It's not impossible, but it's hard. But the thing is that it does, because it's not basics. And it does shut down the ability for the Gardevoir to pull the energy in. So from the discard. So it does slow it down a bit because you can't just load. It shuts off Drifloon, really.
Drifloon and Screamtail.
Well, Screamtail not as much because you can still load up. Screamtail doesn't do it based off of the damage counters that are on it. Drifloon does.
That's true, yeah.
So it shuts off Drifloon because you're not actively doing that. But you are. So I think it does slow it down a little bit more than we think it does, and we just gotta. I think we need to play test it a bit.
Yeah, and it looks fun. It's like one of those like cheese decks. Um, I kind of want to try it out once I kind of go through the rest of the
Yeah.
decks I want to practice and get familiar with.
But yeah, so I mean, I think Worlds is going to be interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of Ready Drago. And yes, it's doing well on tournaments on online. I think we're going to see some interesting techs that I've heard rumors about, like possibly seeing Iron Leaves in a Ready Drago, which is wicked smart. I would have never thought of that.
I don't know why we didn't beforehand, to be honest.
Right. Like, the fact that you can just froom all that energy right up and, oh, you have a Zard? Bye. Oh, you have an Waranguni X? Bye.
Or even turn 1, if they have just one Pokemon in play that's 180 or less. You can get that into active attack and get an easy win.
Yeah, because you could...
Mass.
Because you Teal Dance twice. If you get two Teal Mass down, you Teal Dance twice, add an energy for turn, and then play that and promote it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm. So
that's a
Luminion? Or is that 190?
Luminion is...
Or is that 170?
170. Rotom is 190. Yeah. Wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities with this Drago deck.
So, yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm hoping Drago doesn't become the next Zard, though. I really don't want to just have to always be teching for that one deck. I kind of liked how the last... Even though there wasn't a lot of tournaments, I liked how the last format kind of was an open playing field.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how that goes. But anyways, one thing that we do want to remind everybody of, because a very prominent Japanese player is now not going to Worlds because he missed the registration deadline for the Japanese, which Japan's registration format is a little bit different from TPCI's.
I don't even know what theirs are. They were told how to do it. One of the Elite Four members of Japan, Daichi, he is not going. He forgot. Hopefully he can appeal and somehow find a way, since he is...
I don't think according to his posts, he can't go.
That's one less player to worry about. One big player not to worry about anymore.
Right.
But yeah, for those who did qualify, please register.
Registration is open until, I believe it said 8:59 Hawaii time. So I don't know what time zone that actually is, but 8:59 Hawaiian local time on August 8th. So the day that this is airing, please get your registration done. Double check it. Go through Arcanine. Double check that it's there. We'd hate for anybody to miss out just because of a simple miss up like that.
Don't get me wrong. There's some of our friends that qualified that if they want to stay back and watch Worlds with us, I'm not going to be too sad, but I'll be even more sad if they lost out on the chance of not competing with the best of the best.
Right. So, again, make sure you did your registration.
Yeah.
All right. So, next topic is going to be the new TV show that's out on Amazon Prime, and the first episode is on the Pokemon YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
That is called Trainer Tour.
Yeah, it's actually a very cute show. I liked it. It was meant for a younger audience, no doubt, but that's all of Pokemon.
Right.
But I feel like the people they selected for the hosts and how they did with the players that they showcased, I think they did it fairly well. It was actually very enjoyable to watch.
I liked it as well. I mean, I personally am a big fan of Andrew Mahone just because of the way he does his content. Mm-hmm. There's one thing, his "Let's Go" all the time is a little over the top. But besides that, I think he's a great person based off of what he's put out. I've met his wife shopping at Full Grip booth at Orlando, and she was really nice. I got to talk to her for a few minutes, and she was really great. Unfortunately, he wasn't there, but I watch his content all the time. I really like him. I think he's a great. I think he would be a great coach if he ever got into coaching. I don't think he ever will. I think he said like actually coaching isn't something he's interested in. But it's interesting because he did coach on the show. So I think it's cool how they did it. I mean, they brought up concepts that I think are big concepts no matter what level of play you're at.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think some of us that are more competitive forget about is we see these new meta, we see these new things that are new. I just lost my train of thought there. That we see these new abilities, these new things that are going to change the meta, and we get so absorbed in that we forget to step back and go, okay, but what about my basics? What about my sequencing? What about my order of operations? What about making sure that I can play playing as many cards as you can before you Industrious Incisors to make sure that you get as many card draws as possible. Like, just making sure you do all of that in certain orders. He's really good at explaining to people, and that's what I really like.
Yeah, I like how they do the game plan for each episode for each of the trainers that they have selected, and each one has been different.
Right.
Like, granted, I'm only on episode 4, but every episode is different, and all the players are different.
Right.
You kind of see a whole gamut. They'll show teenagers, they show working adults.
Yeah.
I like how it's a very variety of decks that they're playing, from more roguey, casual to actually like meta. At least meta at that time of recording.
Right. They did record it a year and a half to 2 years ago, so unfortunately we've gone through 2 rotations since those decks were really viable. And I know you kind of have that was your little like about the show, is that it's out of date meta, but we know that production takes a bit.
Yeah.
And so I mean, even those big name shows like Les and I watch House of Dragons, and they just ended season 2 this weekend, and they're just now filming season 3, and we're not going to get it for 2 years. Yeah. So it's like we know that the production is going to be a while, even for a smaller show like that. But like we said, it does cover those basic meta things, and I've finished the show. I know you still have a few episodes to go, but it's, in my opinion, it's something that Pokemon finally put out that I think is a good thing. Like, I would hope that from this, they would get other big names like Azul, like Tord, maybe even Daichi, like some of the, just from around the world, and do it in a way that you see how Pokemon evolves across the world and not just focus on the US. That would be I think that would be cool to go build upon that and expand, like having Tord over in Europe, having Daichi or somebody else from the Elite Four in Japan, like seeing how it's different, how different players build this community. Because that's one of the other things that I really liked is, I remember her last name is Caminera. I can't remember her first name.
The host.
The other host, yeah. I liked the whole point of Andrew was there to be the Pokemon trainer and coach, but she was there for more lifestyle. And I really liked that, how it was. For a lot of people, yes, Pokemon is fun. It's a way for us to have a hobby and have an outlet, but it also extends into our everyday life. Like, you and I met because of Pokemon. Like, you're my best friend. Like, we wouldn't have had each other without Pokemon. And that's part of the whole thing, is like, they try to build up that Pokemon is this community that can extend beyond Pokemon. And that's what I really like them showcasing as well. So
yeah, I like one of the episodes about a musician, and his motto was like, I want to be the greatest musician. He was like, I literally got that from Pokemon. And also how it connected families. He was like, this is how me and my dad connected. This is how we bonded, because he was in the hospital. Like, if you want to watch the show,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, he talks about his experiences as a child, and the difficulties he had to go through, and he was like, Pokemon was the one thing that me and my dad had that helped me get through what I was going through as a kid.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to hear that and know, like, yeah, like you said, Pokemon is grander. It's bigger than just a game. It's not just cardboard. It's not just a video game, but it is a community. Like, I got into playing the trading card game because my brother was like, oh, you should play. You like
Right.
watching Pokemon. You kind of like playing the video game. I think you'll like the trading card game, which led me to come to the league that I go to every week, and that's how I met John. That's how I met a lot of my close friends.
Right.
And it's more than just a game for a lot of people, including at least me. I know for you, and I just like how they showcase that.
Yeah, it was a great. Now, I'm going to obviously say production value is not the best. It was their first season to try and get through stuff. I will say the first episode is a lot shorter than the rest of the season, and the production value is a little bit lesser because it was a pilot episode. We've all seen many series that have pilot episodes that are not as great of quality as the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get through that first pilot episode. But the rest of the season, I thought, was done very well. And it really showcased, in my opinion, that Pokemon isn't just for nerds.
Mm-hmm.
It is for the community as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. Definitely recommend watching it. I binged it. I finished it in like 2 days.
And I think it's a good show. If you're newer to the game, it's a great show to kind of, like you said, introduce you to a lot of the mechanics of how to play, especially how to play at a competitive level.
Right.
But it's not overwhelming to learn.
Right. Right. And like, that's one of the things that I like about Andrew is not only when he's coaching, but even for his live streams, for his YouTube videos, stuff like that, he does explain what he's doing in a very structured manner.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who is a educator by trade, that's something I really like, is having somebody that can actually like, hey, let's take a stop for a second and why I'm doing what I'm doing, why this sequence is the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my 2 cents on the matter.
Oh no, he's a great teacher. Like, you can show that, like, he did learn how to become a teacher,
Right?
And it shows that he just needed to find a new way to showcase that, and he does a great job. I'm glad that they selected him to be part of this project, and I hope they continue to use him in other projects coming. He's great.
All right. Well, there is no Cling Clang Corner this week. There wasn't a lot to talk about, so Cling Clang Corner is not happening this week. Sorry for you Cling Clang fans.
Yeah, we don't have anything to complain about. So, not this week.
Who are we? What? We're not complaining? What?
Yeah.
But time to go into our rogue deck of the week.
Yeah.
Something's a little fishy. Wait, no, wait. A dolphin's not a fish.
No, it's not. But we want to start showcasing some of the mechanics of Shrouded Fables.
Yeah.
And the one card I love that came out from this set is that Palafin EX. I love how it came out, and wait, why are you giving me a funny look?
Because Palafin EX came out 2 sets ago.
No, we just started seeing it on live. Like, there's no way it came out prior to.
Do you not remember me trying to build the Palafin deck and you laughing at my face?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. It was bugged. So, if you started playing in that set, and now you're seeing, oh, this card actually exists, it's because it finally got fixed.
Yeah.
And good timing, too, because it actually pairs really well with the new Pecheraunt EX. I've been playing a couple games with it. I actually really like how it sets up. So, for those who don't know, the Pecheraunt EX has an ability called Subjugate Chains, where you can move a dark Pokemon from the bench to the active that's not a Pecheraunt EX.
Yes.
Well, why am I talking about that? Palafin is a water type Pokemon.
Because there are a lot of dark type Pokemon in the meta currently that have 0 retreat costs.
And one in particular is the Hisuian Sneasler V.
Which I like that one. I like the Morpeko as well, just because you don't put any energy on it. You get to retreat it for free, but it doesn't have a lot of hit points. So
Yeah, I've been using it with the Sneasler V just because you can move it. It's a force steel target.
yep,
So basically, you just promote. The point of the deck is to get your Palafin in the active. Use subjugate chains to get it from the active to the bench to activate the zero to hero ability to get the EX out.
yes,
And
and
then
the EX has 340 hit points, and for 1 water energy, does 250 damage base.
base.
So you're knocking out most base EXs. Your higher level EXs, you're playing a Maximum Belt. You're also playing a
Defiance Band.
Defiance Band and a Choice Belt for your Vs.
Mm-hmm.
So you can with the Choice Belt, you can one shot any of the V stars in the meta because all of them go to 270 or 280. Unfortunately, your Guardies, your Zards, those are still going to be 2 shots. You don't really have a way to one shot those.
There's one way to one shot a Charizard EX. You play the Max Belt and then play a Kieran to get the 30.
That's right.
Exact math.
That is exact math.
Only way.
Yeah, so you do play a couple Kieran in the deck to get that. But it is a fun deck. When I first built it, I was building it with the Abra build.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know, Abra is a psychic Pokemon that it has an ability that I forget the name of the ability, but you get to basically, if it's at any point on your board, you get to just shuffle it back into your deck. And so you would put it in the active, so that way you could, you would switch or retreat your Palafin to get the EX. You would then have the Abra go back into teleport. I think it's teleport back into the deck, and then you would bring the Palafin EX back up. So with and then you have to Artisan to get it back out. There was a lot of ways that you had to sequence this. It was very hard.
Yeah.
Like, I remember you watching me one time actually play it. I proxied it and trying to play it live, and I was just like, there's so much sequencing going on here. But the subjugating change with Pecheraunt EX is just so great. I mean, there's multiple decks that is helping out so much that you would never have thought to put it in.
Yeah, I like how, so basically subjugate chains, get it in the active, and then next turn, you just do it all over again to reset the attack because it does 250 base.
But you can't attack next turn.
But then you just put Sneasler V or you put the Morpeko, and then you just retreat it, and you can hit the 250 base again.
Yep.
So it's a fun deck. When it works, it works. I've won 3-4 games in a row with it, but as we mentioned in the beginning, we're in the Great Ball League. So we're probably not going against the top players, but it is fun. I like it. I first noticed it the other day on Play Limitless. Went 6-2 in a 225 person tournament.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
because most people aren't thinking about it.
No, and it hits the numbers, perfect numbers actually.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing is that I hit a bunch of Drago, and Drago gets set up fast, and I couldn't. Yeah. So that was fun. And then I hit a couple of decks that were playing Cornerstones. That shuts it down, except for if you play the Palafin that came out with the... it was the
one with Jeff Punch, right?
Yes. And that hits exactly 210 if you bring it from the bench to the active. So exactly what you're doing for the Palafin EX, you just do with that. Now you do need 2 water on it, so it does kind of mess with your energy count there. But you're doing exactly 210, which is what all of the Ogre Masks are. So that was fun to sit there for a while. So, but no, I mean it's a fun deck. I enjoyed playing with it. I may mess around with it some more, especially once Shrouded Fables becomes playable for tournaments.
Yeah,
because unfortunately it's not legal this week. Worlds is when it becomes legal. So.
Yeah, but it will be something unexpected.
Yeah.
setup is key. If you can't get it set up, you're gonna have a hard time.
I mean, every single game that I played, you're running 2 Pecheraunt in the deck for this exact reason. Pecheraunt is only 190 HP. It's an easy target, and people are going to go after it because they know that that's how your sequencing is going to run. So if that gets knocked out, if your Sneasler gets knocked out, it makes it a little bit harder, and those are going to be 2 prize targets. So people are going to try and get those out. So
yeah,
but I mean, it's a fun deck.
Oh yeah, for sure. If people don't know what the cards do, then if you're playing in a best of 1 tournament, you'll have an advantage. For
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of rogue decks.
Oh yeah. Well, that's this week's episode.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
No, me neither. We have a couple tournaments coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
Or next week until we record the next episode. So we're gonna be practicing, relaxing, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes until Shrouded Fables is legal, and then we'll have a whole new set to worry about. I know we've ordered our cards already. They're trying to play IRL with them. We're getting ready. This set has definitely made me more excited to play again. Kind of gotten stale with the old last format, and this has kind of rejuvenated.
Yeah,
my love for playing.
It's gonna be interesting though because we have literally a month before the next set. Yeah. So it'll be interesting, but I think that's it for us for today. So keep having fun playing your sneaky decks this seasons.
We'll see you next week.
Hey, all you rogues out there. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor in one of our home leagues at For Honor and Glory. They have all you need for your card game and tabletop RPG needs. Some upcoming events that they have are the Pokemon Go Challenge, August 13th, and the Pokemon Trading Card Game League Challenge, August 20th, as well as the World's Showcase event weekend of August 17th and 18th. You can go on over to forhonorandglory.com and use discount code ROGUE24. That's ROGUE24 at forhonorandglory.com for a 10% off discount for your entire order. All right, let's get back to talking about those sneaky decks.